Hi there, and welcome to this episode of Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son sit down and talk about fantasy books. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. And it's just great to have a chance to record again today, to be here with you, to be with our peeps in the Discord who are with us today too. That's always a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Zach, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. Unfortunately, even though weekendness, I did work today, but it wasn't too bad of a day. Got to see some babies, the usual. How are you doing, Dad?
I'm doing fine. And in fact, I'm hoping to stay fine. I didn't have to work today, but I've been working from home all week. There was something I was supposed to go in for work this week, but I didn't because your mom caught COVID.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, she's fine, and it's just a cold for her. But that means obviously I've been exposed. I've tested a couple times, still in the clear. By the rules in Washington State, I'm supposed to test one more time later today, and then I should be good. So I've been dodging all week. You're not catching me, Rona.
I can tell the symptoms must be very mild for Mom's case because this here and now is the first I've heard of this from either of you.
Yeah, it's just a cold. It's, no big deal. She's doing fine. And that, it helps. She's vaccinated. She's boosted. She's healthy as a person. Yeah. She has no idea how she got it. And honestly, I have no idea how I didn't get it from her. But
it happens.
I'm glad. Yeah. All right. What you drinking today?
I am simultaneously being lazy and something that I felt you wouldn't approve of simply because of your personal tastes. By lazy, I mean I haven't actually finished making it yet because I've got vodka in this glass, but I've got Red Bull here.
Vodka and Red Bull?
Yeah. This is why I thought that you would appreciate it by not appreciating it.
Isn't that like a direct conflict too? You've got a depressant and a stimulant going smash.
Absolutely.
So it should just even out. All right. Well, I was also lazy today, I have to admit. I've just got a beer.
Just a beer? Is it at least a good beer?
It's in a really cool, appropriate glass.
I gotta figure out why is this just appropriate because it's space opera?
Yeah, exactly. It's genre. Cool. It's nothing Wheel of Time.
I was like going, what does a X-wing have to do with the Wheel of Time, which we are talking about today? I'm pretty sure.
By the way, this is the way beer is supposed to look. So you can't see me through it. You can see through your beer.
Nah. I'm just sitting here going, beer can look however you want it to. Light, dark, it's all valid. Just don't give me an IPA because I will not drink it.
No, that's what your sister likes, an IPA, but I agree. No. Evelyn says this is Dark Friend beer. It's not beer. It's Dark Friend beer. I agree. It's dark, my friend.
When did you become the Dark Friend, Dad?
I just am the dark beer guy. So this is a porter out of a craft brewery here in Oregon, and it's very yummy. For beer. I'm not a super beer person, but for beer, it's yummy.
Yeah, all right. You enjoy your wine a bit better.
I do. Didn't feel like wine today, though, so beer. I had this sitting in the fridge. It's left over from a conference. I got to use it up. All right, a few notes before we jump into our content. One, we have 2 shout-outs to give for new Patreon supporters, which is awesome. Now, one of them is duly due right now, and one is overdue because I'm a schmuck and forgot to put it in the notes. So we're going to get them both in here today. So just this week, we've added at the Feist tier, Carrie, who's been active on Discord. She's first-time reader going through the Wheel of Time, and she's right now in the Shadow Rising, but not this far. So she will not be imminently hearing the shout out, but she'll get here. She'll get to it.
Absolutely. And I'm excited for when she will be joining us live.
Absolutely.
Eventually.
And so, Carrie, thank you for your support. It's just meaningful when we have people who go that extra mile and want to be part of the Fantasy for the Ages family in an enhanced manner. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, joining us on Patreon last month at the Abercrombie tier, meaning she gets all of our bonus content episodes as well as the regular stuff, is Amis Farstrider.
Woo!
Another active person on our Discord. Again, last month already. So we shouted it out on Discord, but totally forgot to include this in an episode. So there you go. Thank you so much. We love having you part of this community. Sorry for whiffing. All right. I had an amazing time with some collaborations recently while you've been off living your life and having a good time.
Yeah, I've been doing a thing. I forgot to mention it. I'm getting a dog.
You are. Call us not shocked, okay? We knew that was coming.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So we'll get back to your dog in a moment. Let me finish this point.
Let's go back
then
to
we
collaboration.
Have to hear about the
collaboration.
Dog. But 2 episodes that I just recorded last weekend. One of them drops now tomorrow, and the other will be the next week. But they'll both come out before this episode drops. So people hearing live can look for these episodes, and the others maybe already watched them. But I got together again with Spencer from the Fantasy Files and did our next episode of the Dresden Files. Book 12, Changes. Huge book. Great episode. A lot of fun with that. Yeah, Spencer's always a lot of fun to talk with. And it was more fun than usual because his power went out.
Oh, goodness.
Now, it went out just before we were going to record. So he drives in his car to the local Walmart, parks in their parking lot so he can hop on their Wi-Fi. And so we see his steering wheel as his phone is his device for us to do it. It worked still. It worked great. And it clearly wasn't 100 degrees where he was like it was by us, because that wouldn't have worked.
But hey, that's commitment. I appreciate it. It's huge.
Yeah, Spencer was a trooper there. And we had a good time. And then I also recently partnered with Leia, Roof Mistress of Threefold Talk on YouTube, and Jake, Stone Dog, on our Discord, and also a big Watt fan. We got together to talk about The Expanse, because they're both big fans of the books and the show. I'm a big fan, and we just fanned. It was fun. It was fun. So we've got a great episode there. I hope people enjoy that. If you haven't read the books, watch the series. You really should do both. Take it from me. They're worth your time. And then go and check out that episode. A lot of fun. Now, tell us about this dog.
Oh, yeah. So Rachel and I have been looking to get a dog for a bit. We're really excited. We have a dog all lined up. We've started filling out paperwork for the actual adoption process. They will not be in this episode nor the next, because we'll be recording that one today as well. But ideally, by the next time that we're recording, if you're watching, I'll show a doggo.
We might hear yip, yip, yip in the background and all that stuff too.
Maybe.
Or stop chewing that. That happens. Totally. Do you got a name for the dog yet?
Yes. We're calling him Rolly.
Rolly.
Yep.
Oh, do you have any pictures yet? Discord wants to know.
I do. I'll be posting one later on in our Discord channel in the pet pics.
Okay, there we go. Good enough.
Don't let me forget.
Rolly. All right. Oh, trust me, Emmeline won't let you forget. She's got it. She heard it. You're going to be hounded. All right. Well, all these collaborations I do want to get back to just saying it's really nice to be back with you, Zach. Friends are nice. Son is great.
Hi, Dad.
Yeah. Before we together move into these 2 chapters from The Shadow Rising, there's one more thing we tend to do these days, and that's just share what we're reading now, besides The Wheel of Time. What are you on to right now?
So I recently finished multiple books. I don't remember if I'd mentioned previously that I finished Heroes Die by Matthew Stover.
Yes.
And I also finished The Obelisk Gate, the next in the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin.
Okay.
So
Yeah, you didn't drop that in Discord yet. You got to let people know you finished
no, I
that
didn't
one.
actually drop that I finished those in Discord yet. I might have. I don't remember.
No,
Point
the
is,
first one you did, but not Obelisk Gate. That's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
I mentioned it all in the same post.
Oh, okay.
But books that I'm on to now, we're moving back to Sanderson for a little bit in my paper reading, as I'm picking up the next book in the Stormlight Archive with Oathbringer.
Okay.
And then for audiobooks, I outsourced to our Discord. I was figuring out what to do next, what to do, some fluff. And then Audible also dropped a 2-for-1 sale thing. I looked through it. One of the suggestions was in there that I thought was interesting. So I haven't started it yet because I started the other one that I picked up instead.
Mm-hmm.
But next on the list will be American Gods, Neil Gaiman.
Ah, okay.
And before that one, I'm doing some very fluff for a moment, because I picked up a Rick Riordan book, his series with the like Norse mythology and stuff, Magnus
Okay.
Chase. It's absolute YA fluff,
Sure.
but I needed that, so it's good.
All
What are
right.
you reading,
Great.
Dad?
Well, I just finished, literally just last night, finished Mark Lawrence's Road Brothers, the short story collection that's tied to his Broken Empire trilogy. Great short bites, just giving us a little more on some of those characters. I enjoyed that. I did finally complete all 5 books of the Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe.
That's an accomplishment.
Oh, man, that was, yes, an accomplishment. We'll just say that. Okay.
We'll put
Not
it
going
on
to
your
go down on
tombstone.
any of my favorite lists. Like Mark Lawrence, oh, I loved that stuff, but no, oh, wow. Whew, but I'm glad I have it in my background now. I have finished Dragon Quest, book 2 of our Dragon Riders of Pern read through, and I'm waiting before I move on to the next book because we've got another week for people to catch up on this one, and then we're going to get together to discuss it.
I waited on that one so that I didn't finish too early, so now I have about a week to read it.
I see it dropping in Discord. Emmeline is a Mark Lawrence fan. Looks like she's read more than I have, though. I've got the Red Queen's War coming up soon in my TBR, and then Book of the Ancestors a little further down. But I'll probably get to all of them before 2023 is done because it was so good. I moved them up my TBR.
Especially when you're reading so many books.
Yeah, I've now got, I think, 69 done this year.
Hey, nice.
Yeah. Not touching that. Okay, moving on. Also, listing in the audiobook, I've got Shadow's Edge that I'm almost halfway done with, which is the second book of the Night Angel trilogy. Now, you only read the first book in the Night Angel trilogy?
I read like the first book and a half. I'm going to go back and pick up that second book at some point. It's in my list. Couple down.
Brent Weeks is the author. This is amazing. I can't believe you read that a while back and didn't finish because I'm like, this is so good.
I just got really into other things.
Yeah, no, I'm powering through. Really entertained with this. And the last thing, physical read that I'm doing is A Night in the Lonesome October. It's a standalone novel, and it's right up there.
Well, I can see it, but that doesn't mean I know it.
It's by Roger Zelazny. It's the last novel he wrote before he passed. I read him way back as a teenager with his Chronicles of Amber. This is the only other Zelazny I've read. It's quirky. It's unique. I'm finding it thoroughly entertaining, especially because so far the whole story's been told by a dog.
Oh, we love dogs.
Yeah, not your average dog, but it's not your average story. Very entertaining. So I'll put a full review out in Discord or something eventually, but I'm having a good time. It's a fast read. All right. Oh, I do see one last note before we move into it. It's a Wheel of Time note, though.
Okay.
Your mother is up to Knife of Dreams now.
Nice.
Yeah. You know, having COVID, she had a lot of time to read. So she plowed through New Spring in like 3.5 days.
New Spring,
which was good because she found New Spring kind of like,
that's fair.
I don't really need this. I think she felt what I felt. I need more of the real story. So She's now well over 100 pages in. I posted, I think, on our Discord earlier today. She got done with the first 100, went, that was all just the prologue? It's a big prologue with Knife of Dreams.
It's a big book.
But really good stuff in the prologue, too. It's not like it's just initial fluff. No, there's meaningful stuff in that prologue. And now she's into the real chapters. And I believe that's what she's doing right now while we're recording. She's reading. She's hooked.
So while she's reading much later, shall we talk about the Shadow Rising?
Back to the Shadow Rising. Absolutely. We begin today with chapter 46, called Veils, where we return to the nation of Terabon.
Okay.
And our immediate point of view is Eginin, the covert Shanchen operative on mission here. Why is she here again? She's looking
largely for the deserters of sorts, the Soldam Damane, those who had been back at Fome and didn't necessarily leave with the rest of the ships and just betrayed the nation of Shanshan by trying to hide and assimilate.
And while we're quickly reminded of that objective, we also see here in her POV, she has an extra reason to be searching for these people. Because she already has one of these Soldam, Bethamin, down in her basement of the place she's staying in a collar.
Yep, Bethamin, a Soldam collared like Damane.
Yeah, that's not supposed to be how it works. So she really wants to find another Soldam to confirm that any Soldam can be collared like a Damane, or is Bethamin just a fluke? You know, is she maybe really a Damane who'd managed to slip through the tests and passed as a Soldam all these years instead? She really needs to know, is this a thing? Has everything I've learned been a sham? Or is this just oops? Two quick things we pick up from Eginin here, too. As she's walking along here at the beginning, she is disgusted at Tanchico, the city. The situation here, the chaos, anarchy, people who are miserable. And she's eager for the Karen, the return of the Shanchen, because that will bring order. That will improve life for everybody. These beggars, these hungry people, the filth, it'll be gone. That is not how the Shanchen run things.
Now, it's time that the Shanchen come in and clean up these beaches, okay?
Wipe things away. Just wash it clean. You remember, Falm, under Shanchen rule. Does Eginin have a point here that when they get here, everything will be fixed, it'll all be better?
Much like the Romans, it will likely be stable. I'm very, very hesitant to say it will be better. There are arguments to be made that it would be better. There are arguments to be made that is one of the worst things that could happen, depending on how you look at it and what you value.
And who you are, perhaps.
But stability would increase, yes.
We also see she's disgusted at Florin Gelb. Good old Florin Gelb.
I don't think we can say good old for him. Like, I know we've known him since the first book, but man, he's rotten.
Earlier in this book, we saw that she's hired him to be searching for these missing Soldam that she's looking for. He has descriptions. And early on, he brought a woman he kidnapped for her, Lylewyn.
Correct.
Who wasn't any of the people, and to cover it up, she shipped Lylewyn off to Shanshan. She doesn't want these kind of mistakes being made. She doesn't like to have to do something like that to a person.
No, so she only likes human trafficking if it's justified in her mind. If it's a random person, not a fan.
Yeah, it's not a good thing to do. So she's really been trying to keep more tabs on Florin Gelb. But he's already, since the last time she read him his rights, brought to her attention 3 more people. Here they are, that aren't even close to who she's looking for. She really regrets she paid him at all for his past work, which I'm thinking every employer Florin Gelb has ever had would agree with. Regretting paying him for any of his past work. So right now, she's literally following him because she understands he's got someone else that he's found, and he's got 8 guys with him. He's clearly off to do some kidnapping. So she at least wants to see, is it one of the people?
Is it worth kidnapping?
And if not, she intends to try to stop it. Now, she almost loses Gelb when she hears a commotion off to the side, and there's a lady screaming, he only asked for some help. And apparently some guy's arm has just randomly been broken by someone else.
That's
a weird
wild.
thing. Yeah. Now, it's non sequitur, but there's a point to why that happens, and we're going to come back to it later in the episode. But I needed to mention it here now, so you'll know it was important. It doesn't seem important right here. At this point, then, though, Ginen's like, okay, dang it, where'd Gelb go? And moves forward just a little bit on where he must have gone, and finds, oh, they're hiding. This must be the ambush spot. And sure enough, looking down this little narrow hall area, walkway, roadway, she sees a couple of women walking into the ambush spot. She's like, oh, come on. No, they aren't anyone I'm looking for. Dang it. He's doing it again. So she's gonna, step in to try to stop it. Now, as she moves in to stop it, the POV switches. Because these 2 women are Nynaeve Elmira and Elaine Tricond.
We've heard of those names.
Yeah. And they're dressed as Terraboners, but sorry, it's what came out. Trying to blend in, but they have no idea what they're walking into. Now, the first thing I want to reference in this POV switch is we're actually going specifically to Elaine.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a running joke that gets established here. Because, again, the chapter's name was Veils, and in one way, it's about the fact that they're wearing veils. It's part of the Tanchico clothing style. So they've got these very clinging outfits that don't hide anything, and then veils to hide their face.
Yeah.
And Elaine finds it highly impractical. And in fact, the veil keeps getting in her mouth. She keeps constantly having to spit it back out. This doesn't seem to happen to Nynaeve, just Elaine. So, Zach, why does that keep happening to Elaine, but not necessarily to others like Nynaeve?
All right, I've got like 3 options.
Okay.
1, it's never talked about. Does Nynaeve have a big nose?
I don't think that's it.
Number 2, again, don't think it's talked about. Maybe Elaine's a mouth breather. Option 3, Elaine talks a lot. Like a lot.
All right. I want to put forward a different premise. And none of these are proven. This is just all suggestion. I think the woman has her nose stuck up in the air too much. And if your angle's like
just
that,
keeps falling it back
the veil's right there against your mouth.
Nah.
I like that one.
I like it. It's fun. But I think it's too literal. Her nose is stuck up in the air, but physically?
It works for me. Well, normally, women dressed as they are would be carried in palanquins. They'd have men carrying them around. But they're not. Nynaeve and Elaine are just using their own 2 feet for movement, and they have no people with them, no protection. In fact, they're both carrying barrel staves. They got clubs, okay? They are their own protection. Why? Well, Nynaeve is too cheap. That's part of it.
Pretty much, yeah. No, they have the money
Elaine's
for the palanquins.
Bail Doman could have easily provided them some guys, some help. It wouldn't have cost them anything. What's really going on?
They proud.
Nynaeve is. Elaine would be more than happy to be in a palanquin. Nynaeve, this is control. She doesn't want to have to surrender herself to someone else's care, to be protected by big, strong men. No, she's an independent soul. She can do this, and she's also stubborn. She's not going to go with what somebody else thinks she ought to do.
And to some extent, I see value in it. I mean, putting your foot down and saying, no, I'm not being carried around on a palanquin. I'm capable of myself. It's all good and fine. Keeps you having that control and initiative, and it's cool. But when you take it too far and you say, and you can't come and be with me and added protection, I'm like, have you looked in the streets? Nobody wants to be alone right now.
And in fact, we see in this point of view that Elaine's already had her coin purse stolen 3 times in the last 5 days. It is not an easy place to be. Not a safe place to be, and especially just walking along, 2 people, no bodyguards, no protection. That's not how it's done here. Okay.
I'm curious who keeps giving Elaine more coin purses.
Right? Now, I'm looking up because, yeah, you said it right. Doggone it. I said palanquin and you said palanquin. Yeah, you nailed it.
I'm pretty sure I learned the pronunciation from you during one of our episodes in like the first or second book.
I don't think I've ever said it that way before, but maybe. And I'm old and forgot. So a palanquin. All right, I will try to remember now. All right, we also learn here that Elaine recently finally connected with Egwene in the world of dreams. Now, remember, there had been times they'd been talking about they hadn't heard from her.
Yes.
And she had said, don't worry, keep checking, but I might not always be able to meet like we agreed.
Keep looking, I might be grounded, it's fine.
They finally met, but with them was this wise one, Amis. And pretty much she's the only one that talked. Egwene said a little, but Elaine found that most of the time with them was a lecture from Amis to Elaine on how dangerous it is to be in the world of dreams and you don't know what you're doing. You're just a child. And that's kind of how she felt. Very much like a child being lectured again.
That's such a productive use of time, spending all of the time in that conversation lecturing someone about the dangers without actually teaching them the dangers and just like telling people you're stupid and wrong. Great use of your time.
Right? Yeah. One odd thing from the conversation that did come up from Egwene is the revelation that nobody knows where Perrin is. Egwene thought Perrin was with Elaine and Nynaeve. Elaine and Nynaeve assumed Perrin was with Egwene because that's where Matt and Rand are. Surely Perrin's there too. And nope.
I mean, Rand knows where Perrin is, but nobody's asked him.
Nah, nobody talks to the men. Nynaeve suspects, he's probably with that girl, and they've gone off somewhere where he can finally be a blacksmith like he wanted.
Elaine, at first part, you're not wrong, but second part, well, Elaine has a different idea.
Yeah. See, Nynaeve's very dismissive of that girl. Elaine, though, she recognizes something about Fael, and this makes sense to me. She's like, Fael wouldn't settle for the blacksmith's life. Why would Elaine catch that?
Because Elaine, while she probably does not know Fael, personally, knows and was able to figure out enough of the stuff that we have since learned about Fael through Perrin, that she's royalty.
Yes, she's nobility. Elaine could just probably sense it from the way she carried herself, the way she talked. There's some subtle things on how you're raised that impacts how you act. She probably picked up on it. Now, at this point, Florin Gelb and his 8 toughs, they step out of where they've been prepped for the ambush. So the women are surrounded. And both of them, they've got those barrel staves, and they put them to use, but it's 9-on-1. It's really 8-on-1 because Florin Gelb is the guy in the background. He's not going to get involved if he can avoid it.
Now, we should mention, why aren't they just, zip zap power totally fine? Why are they carrying the barrel staves in the first place?
Yeah. Well, great point. Why are they here in Tanchico? It's to find the Black Aja. If they use the power, the Black Aja will find them first. Because all they've been doing since they've been here personally to find the Black Aja is walking the city, trying to sense people channeling.
Which means if they're doing that, someone else might as well. So if they channel enough to actually, club someone over the head, wrap them up in air, that's just a big bonfire to anybody who can sense it.
Right, right. So here they are surrounded by these people, and they don't channel at them. They get back to back. I mean, they've both, I believe Nynaeve does clock one of them right on the nose right off the bat, but they're still way outnumbered. And then Elaine is sure what's going on, is they know who she is. Because Gelb shouts, "Don't let her get away! She's gold!" And it's like, he knows I'm the daughter heir of Andor. Her mind jumps to, this is a kidnap move.
Kidnapping, ransom, it's a whole thing.
And they're going to eliminate Nynaeve. She's in the way. So they're going to kill her. They're going to take me. I'll be sold off for ransom. So we can't let this happen. She feels Nynaeve actually embrace Sadar. And so does Elaine then. They don't use it yet, but they've got it. So basically, last resort. And if they channel, that will certainly light the beacon more than just embracing Sadar. So
embracing it is something you can see, like you're looking at the person, you can see it apparently, but it's not something that you see it from across the city center.
Right. So as they're in this position now, back to back, trying to hold the guys off with barrel staves, Aguinan steps in. Now they don't know her. Just a woman shows up and starts taking men out with hand-to-hand combat.
Oh, absolutely.
It's very impressive, Yeah, and she very quickly takes out.
Again?
No. She very quickly takes out most of them. Nynaeve settles one or two of them. Elaine manages literally just to run one off, shouting. But they're all down. And the women are looking at each other and about to, talk to each other about what just happened when Florin Gelb, who's been smashed in the nose already by Nynaeve, comes flying at Aguinan from behind with a dagger to stab her in the back. Elaine, on reflex, uses the power. Channels with a fist of air that sends Gelb rolling head over tail, and then as soon as he can get himself collected, he scurries off.
How different would things have been if she had just let Florin Gelb stab Aguinan right here?
No, bad Zach. She did the right thing.
I'm just saying, she could have. She didn't. But it'd make a very different story.
Oh, yes, it would. So, okay, that happened. And now Nynaeve and Elaine, they thank Aguinan for stepping in. And Aguinan introduces herself. My name is Aguinan. And Elaine's like, I think she probably saw what I just did. So, like, she knows I channeled. And she senses, she's, like, looking at her a little reserved. Like, she's got that, not sure about you now.
But she's not looking like she's immediately going to kill me. So, like,
no.
Better than a white cloak.
Elaine also notes Aguinan talks with somewhat of a slower, more slurred manner of speech. A little hard to understand her. And she's like, that's a little familiar. Where have I heard that before? She can't quite place it. Why can't she place that, Zach? Why can't she tell where she's heard that?
Place it. We know where it's from. It's a Shan-Chan accent.
Right.
Now it's a Shan-Chan accent. And she is trying to disguise here and there, but she's not great at accents. It's like if I try to speak with a British accent, it's not pretty. It just don't do it.
Yeah, right. And Elaine didn't necessarily hear a lot of Shan-Chen, did she?
I mean, she was there for like weeks in Falma.
But mostly trying to
Over a
hide
month,
from
for
everybody.
sure. Well, hide from being detected too much, but
Min
interact
was
to a
the
certain
one who
extent.
was all
Min
infiltrated, and
absolutely would like have had a better, more exposed understanding of Shan accents. But it's one of those things where it's unique enough. It seems to be talked about as something that is so strikingly different. It's a little surprising to me that you add in it's so different, plus the level of trauma that the women have suffered with the Shan-Chan. It's one of the biggest sources of their troubles in the past 2 years.
okay.
At this point, I don't blame her for not getting it in this exact second. But like, nah, she could figure this out.
Could it also be something that it's kind of traumatic from the past, so she's blocked it, tries not to think about that point in time?
I mean, maybe I definitely give the moment that she finds out. If she finds out, she's gonna be kicking herself, going, "I knew I recognized it. Why didn't I think of that? Of course it is."
That makes sense. Well, they suggest we probably should get out of here before some authorities show up or something, and they invite Aginin to join them as in thanks. Come to our inn, have a cup of tea. And along the way, they confirm, yeah, she saw what Elaine did. She knows Elaine channeled. They assume she's frightened at being in the presence of what are obviously Aes Sedai, so they seek to reassure her, you have nothing to worry from us, we're not going to hurt you. And Aginen's like, I didn't realize I should be afraid. But they agree to speak no further about this right now. And Nynaeve's kind of like, ladies, we're right in the middle of the town. Can we wait till we can get somewhere a little more quiet? And so, yeah, okay, no more talk. Let's get to the inn. So they arrive at the inn and they find Julian waiting with news. Now, Julian had not come back last night, so this morning he wasn't there, couldn't see. And here he is, excited to share he found the Black Sisters.
Oh, good. Did you do it the same way you did last time, where you basically just lure them to take you and kidnap you again? Because we know how that happened in Tyr.
And that's exactly where Nynaeve kind of goes to. You found them already, and did they see you? What did you do? And he's like, okay, I need to back up a little. I found where they were. Okay, I followed one of them who fit the description to a house, but now the house is abandoned. No one's there. I even went in to confirm, and they're gone. And that's where Nynaeve almost loses her beep. You went in the building? What are you doing? Yeah.
Fine, but they even, they took all the rugs. Who takes the rugs?
He's like, a place that is abandoned has a different feel, okay? I could tell. And there was no signs of where they've gone. They're just gone. They dismissed Julian, and then they asked the innkeeper, Rendra, can you set up a private room for us to have some tea? We 3 women want to just have a little chat. She's like, of course. And as she's setting them up with that, she's chit-chatting with them. It's all friendly banter and all. And she's almost treating them like her daughters, And Aginen is just watching and listening to all of this stuff. She listened to the interactions with Julian and now the way they're interacting with Rendra. And when Rendra is gone and they're just there, the 3 of them again with tea, she's like, you are not what I expected.
Interesting.
She specifically says, seeing how you interacted with Julian, your servant, maybe, and the innkeeper here, and the way you let her talk with you and stuff, that's not what I pictured Aes Sedai were like. Now, the girls are like, she's, believing all of the stereotypes and the things you need to fear about Aes Sedai. But of course, we know that's not really what's going on. She's got a Shan-Chen's understanding of what Aes Sedai are like, and they're not fitting it. They're not matching. There are some misconceptions, and some of them maybe are starting to be challenged and maybe cleared up. Well, that's to be determined.
It is fair to say that there are misconceptions about Aes Sedai, period. Sure, the Seanchan definitely have the wrong idea. But so does most of the world. And I'd argue so do a lot of the Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
Ask anyone and you'll get a different answer of what's an Aes Sedai.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the misconceptions that she has about Aes Sedai comes out in her next comment where she said, so, Elaine, I heard from what was said earlier, you're nobly born. You're from the ruling class. So is that how Aes Sedai control things? They take power and then control the kingdoms that way? And Elaine's like, no.
Not really.
I don't, in fact, I don't know any other Aes Sedai who's in line to be a queen or king.
Yeah, no, it's just kind of like my country's thing. Like, some people really are good at making beer. We're good at having queens who go and study with the Aes Sedai.
Again, turns to Nynaeve, and where will you rule? It's like, I'm from a little country village. Now, technically, Nynaeve rules the village with an iron fist, but that's a different thing.
Ruled. We've seen that village more recently.
Ruled. Yes. Now, Aginin also picked up from the chat earlier with Julin that the girls are looking for certain women, and she offers to assist. Says, I do some small trade and information. Could I help you with that? The girls decline. But why? Why do they decline the offer?
I don't know why. I'm sure it says it's been a while.
Well, it's simply they don't want to put someone else at risk. They've already involved Bail Doman and his people now, and that's all the risk they want. They don't want to bring Aginin into something that could get her in trouble with the Black Aja.
I gotta say, either Elaine and Nynaeve here are naive and dumb, or there's some sort of pattern workings going on here, because so much stubbornness and mistrust of all these different people, and this random person saves you on the street, and you're totally fine telling them like all of the information except for, oh, but we don't want to inconvenience or put you in danger. It's like, you didn't trust your friends like more than you could throw them, and you're not very strong without the power. What's going on here?
Yeah. Now, we get an interesting note here in the conversation. Elaine comments on noting that Aginin really seems interested in Aes Sedai. And she says to her, I don't sense any ability with the power in you, but, you might be able to learn to channel the one power. And Aginin practically drops her tea.
Mm-hmm.
Why is she so shocked?
Well, two things. One, why would anyone ever want to learn the power? It's the worst thing in the world. If you can channel, you must be collared, according to Seanchan ways.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it can be learned?
That's a thing? Yeah. In Seanchan culture, their understanding is there are women who channel. That's how they're born. We have to find them and collar them. And then some women can learn how to control those people. Now, if she puts some pieces together here, she's like, wait. So, and I don't think her mind has gone this far yet, but maybe these people who can learn to control are ones who could have learned to channel. That's it. See, yeah. She'll get there. Elaine is saddened to see how Aginin is so agitated at all this. And she assumes it's just, again, typical Aes Sedai bias and the rumors about them to blame. But before she can explore any further, Tom Marilyn shows up. And he's got news. partly naive is like, really? Private tea? Did you have to come in? But no, you need to hear this. He shares the children of the light have surrounded the Panarch's palace. Lady Amathera is to be invested as Panarch tomorrow, but the assembly has refused to endorse that.
Interesting.
So it shouldn't be happening, which means since it's going to happen anyways, we're probably going to have riots here in Tanchico. You think the city's bad now? It's going to get a lot worse. In fact, Bail Doman is wrapping up his business in town so he can bug out as soon as the riots start. But in the meantime, he has lent 50 of his men to provide a proper protection for you women. They're sitting right outside now. So if you need anything, you want to go anywhere, they are here. Now, Nynaeve is, this is not what she wanted.
Absolutely. She's pissed. But
how dare you presume?
She's overruled in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Elaine steps on her and says, 5 minutes ago, we were attacked and almost killed, except for a random woman who showed up and saved us. Thanks, Aginin. No, we'll take it.
Absolutely. Now, at this point, Aginin makes her excuses and she heads off. Tom is already gone. I didn't mention it. Tom also headed off. So Aginin leaves and saying, I really would like to learn more about you and Aes Sedai and stuff. So if we have time and you're willing, I'll come visit again. And like, absolutely, come visit. That'd be great. We'll be besties.
They're networking.
Yeah. So this leaves Elaine and Nynaeve alone. And they take a moment to assess their situation now. Okay, there's going to be riots. It's going to get dangerous.
That's bad.
Yeah, but we still haven't found any Black Sisters.
That's also
just
bad.
A house where apparently they used to be.
That's less bad.
They don't know pretty much anything about this thing in Tanchico that is supposed to be dangerous to Rand, just that it's here somewhere.
Definitely bad.
They caught in the conversation with Aginin that she appears to know Bail Doman in some way, because they saw her react when Tom mentioned him. We might need to explore that later. Figure out, how do they know each other? Do they know each other?
File that away to pull out randomly later. It'll be great.
Yep. Before they talk any further, Rendra comes back and says, sorry to interrupt you, but there's a woman asking for you. She believes she knows you, and she's not from Terabon. She's like from out of town. And they look at each other and they both embrace Saidar. They're like, maybe the Black Aja has found us after all. All right, let's do this. And they say, yep, bring her up. Moments later, the woman enters and everything goes wonky. This is an awesome scene because the woman channels, but our girls don't freak out. In fact, they lose all control to do anything. They do whatever this woman says. They blab everything they know into response to her questions. What can we infer from this, Zach?
At the very least, this person is not a good person, and they are being compelled. As in, Nynaeve and Elaine are being compelled here.
And they don't recognize her, because at the first moment, it's just a woman. They don't like, oh, it's one of them. No, it's not one of the Black Aja. But it's someone who easily and powerfully just takes over their will.
There's a next note here that you've got written in the notes that really gives us a better key to why we can kind of make a next inference.
Yes. She talks to them. She questions them. She gets some things out of them. And we hear, one, that this woman is quite interested in Rand al'Thor. Noting, so that's his name now.
So when we're talking about the Dragon Reborn and someone's going, that's his name now, as if they knew him previously, it seems to imply Forsaken.
Exactly.
Big flashing sign.
She asks them to turn out their purses and pockets and looks through their things. Doesn't see anything she wants there. Asks, do you have any ter'angreal or angreal in your rooms? Now, because of how the question is asked...
Notably, things that are in their pockets and things that are in their rooms, nah.
Don't got any.
Because they happen to have that stone ter'angreal ring, hung around a cord on their neck.
Right. So they don't try to hide it from her. She just didn't ask.
That is one of the most petulant excuses ever. I've used it way too many times.
Now I'm like,
yes, I've used it with you, Dad.
Yeah, I'm sure you have now. All right. We get confirmation in this of how powerful Nynaeve truly is. Now, it's been suggested she's going to be one of the most powerful, but she's blocked, but one of the most powerful Aes Sedai in hundreds, maybe thousands of years. But here's this person who, let's just say it, she's forsaken, absolutely. She's looking at her going, well, I look forward to when Ravine sees you. Because if you don't have your block, he's going to be in for a surprise. Okay, so she's referencing another Forsaken, and as if Nynaeve would be on a level, or maybe even more powerful than Ravine. Whoa, that's pretty significant. So I had in my notes to ask you, what does that suggest, Zach? But never mind, I just told everybody.
Okay.
The woman clearly even states here that she's using compulsion on them. And that it has limitations. There's only so much she can do with compulsion. But the last thing she does with it is eliminate any memory of this from their minds. And the way she does it is very similar to hypnotism. He says, I want you to take all these things from the table, put them back in your purses and pockets. By the time you're done, you will have forgot I was even here and said any of this. And then she leaves, and they do what she told them. And when they're done, they remember somebody came by because Rendra came by, but all they're like is, well, she was nice.
Yeah, some time went by, their tea's colder, but I don't really remember much.
And then they just move back on with their previous conversation, and that bit's done. That was, whoa.
It was smooth.
We get two last tidbits in this chapter. First, we jump back to Aginen's POV as she has left the inn, and she's clearly struggling with what she's learned. I mean, Aes Sedai are not clearly what she had been taught. No. They can channel, so they are dangerous, and they should be collared. But these women were pleasant. They weren't power mad. They didn't seem particularly dangerous. In fact, one of them saved her life. And they mentioned channeling can be learned. She's like, I need to explore this further. I must know more. And then she moves on, hoping none of Bail Doman's sailors who are out there, these 50 guys, hoping none of them recognize her. Although she figures they won't because she's not dressed at all.
Yeah. In last the way time they saw her, she was wearing a whole bunch of bug armor and taking their ship.
Right. Yeah, she looks a little different right now. However, she is recognized by someone else. Sitting across from the inn, watching it, is a pale-haired man in filthy Tanchican garb who's been keeping an eye on her, has been tailing her, and in fact is the one who broke the man's arm at the early part of the chapter when he lost control for a moment. One of these disgusting Tanchico vermin touched him and he snapped, and with practically no effort, snapped the guy's arm. His thought at the moment was, how dare they touch one of the blood? Okay, what should we infer from that, Zach?
I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure I've ever really paid much attention to this when I've read. But this is clearly that seeker that talked to her.
Yes. Who's been keeping tabs, following. And yeah, he's important. He's big and he's powerful.
Not necessarily like magic powerful.
No, just literally powerful. Snap. The chapter ends with this man noting he's going to need to explore this inn, discover just what Aginen was up to. That's not good. That's the end of the chapter. We move on to our second chapter, 47, and it's a big one. Not in size. It's just significance.
that being said, we might be in trouble here. We only went through one chapter so far, and we're almost an hour in. This next one feels like it's gonna take longer than the first one did.
We'll try. Keep in mind, we have our banter at the beginning, so we didn't talk a full hour on that chapter. Okay, let's go. After many, many chapters, we're returning finally to the White Tower. And we are with Swan Sanche in her Amerlin study. She's going through paperwork. Gripping stuff, paperwork. And we get the following info from her thoughts.
Yeah, you joke saying it's gripping stuff. It's just paperwork. But there's actually a lot of information just tossed out here through this paperwork.
There is. And we should remind, especially first-time readers, whenever there's a bunch of information just tossed out like this, Robert Jordan is doing this intentionally as the author. He's delivering things you want to remember.
He's 5 shadowing.
5 shadowing. It's well beyond 4. Gotcha. So one of the things we hear is while others manage the day-to-day operations of the White Tower, Swan makes it her habit to routinely check every day 1 or 2 things of just the routine workings of the tower. Kind of as oversight, quality control, make sure no one's slacking off. Now in doing this right here, she's noted that Master Javarin, a mason they've hired to do some stonework around the tower, has hired way too many men for the work that he's been tasked to do. There's a Brown sister, Danelle, who's in charge of overseeing Master Javarin's work, and somehow she's completely missed that way too many men have been brought into the tower for this project. She's going to need to deal with this. Sloppy Brown sister. She's a little frustrated, we hear here, because there's been no news in weeks about Randall Thor. Just that one message, originally, which we had early in the book.
Way back.
A message from Moraine in code that said, the sling has been used, the shepherd holds the sword.
Basically saying, hey, Rand has Kalendor.
Yep. It was the confirmation he truly was the Dragon Reborn. Good news. Nothing since. It's been weeks. Now, she keeps that message in her little special warded box. A box where she puts only her most important secret things.
Yes, the box of self-destruction.
Yes.
If opened improperly.
Well, and the improperly part is if anyone else opens it.
Yeah.
Her hand, fine. Anyone else, kaboom.
I mean, if someone knew to try and undo the warding, they maybe could, but then there's warding that prevents tampering with the warding. So, like, it's a pretty good trick.
Now, the question, if somebody chopped off her hand and used it to open it, would it work?
Only one way to find out.
And this chapter shows that's not happening. So we get a moment where we go through some of these other papers that are in the box. This is that list of info that Jordan is dumping on us. So one of them notes that the novice that had been sent to the farm after seeing Min's arrival back at the White Tower, she's vanished from that farm, as has the woman who owned the farm. Now, what do we know about that, Zach? We had information earlier.
We know someone went and investigated that. I don't, in this moment, recall if we learned in that moment who it was.
We did,
but we did learn that it probably was someone evil, considering they started torturing.
We also learned, I think it was either explicitly said or heavily inferred, that both those women are dead.
Yeah, I believe it was implied. Black Aja, torture, kill, that whole shebang.
There's also a report of a gathering of nearly 10,000 people in Gildan for a rave. It's being thrown by some guy called the Prophet of the Lord Dragon.
I don't think they used the word rave.
But it's a massive gathering, though. It's the Woodstock of the day.
I like your image that you're putting out here. But I don't know. I think it's doing raves dirty if you call this a rave.
Well, whatever this thing's going on out here, she's puzzled by a couple of pieces of this information. One is that the prophet's name is apparently Massima. That's not a Gildanan name. That's a Shanaran name.
It's a
Why in the
Shannara
world
name
was
that we know.
Shanaran being Gildan? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
It's a Shannara name that we know.
We do. She doesn't. The other piece. Go ahead.
I wonder about that. Is it just like she only knew the important people when she was there? Because she visited Shannara.
She's not going to pay attention to the peasants, the little people.
But like, he was involved enough that she might have met and had conversation with him at a gate. At that time,
he was Shanaran soldier number 4. That's all.
I mean, he was Shanaran Scowly soldier. He had a defining trait.
Hey, if the prophet of the dragon is called Scowly soldier from Shannara, she'd go, "Oh, I know that guy." But
I will say it would be different if this was Uno. She'd be like, "Oh yeah, the guy with one eye."
There you go. The other thing that puzzles her is, though, that this guy is preaching Rand al'Thor as the Lord Dragon. How does he know the name Rand al'Thor and connecting it with the Dragon Reborn? She's totally befuddled on how that can have happened. Now, of course, we totally know, but
and if
another piece she doesn't know.
Had the time to sit down and really think hard about it, she might figure it out. She was there. She knew Rand was there. She would have known about getting sent off to go do the horn. She commissioned that.
I think it's a significant thing for us to remember, though, that in this report, 10,000 people showing up for this.
It's a lot.
Yeah, this is a movement, man. There's something happening.
It's not a moment. It's a movement.
Also, no sign of Mazrim Taim. That's another note she has there. He escaped. They can't find him. Worsening conditions in Eridoman and Terabon.
Oops.
Ships disappearing in the Aerith Ocean. That's stuff they'd heard before. It's still happening.
Sean Jan.
Terran excursions into Kyrian. She's got messages of sisters who are going missing. 2 in Ilion, another in Camelin. Anything about those particular locations of why with sisters might go missing?
Ilion and Camelin? They might be run by Forsaken. Quick aside here.
Yeah.
How'd you say the nation of Tyr in its relating to people form?
Terran.
Interesting. I'm not saying you're wrong. My brain goes Tyran.
No, I see Terran. I don't know. I've listened to the audiobook, so that might be why I say Terran.
So have I. I'd probably say it differently. I don't know. At this point, we're going to say it all of the above. It's fine.
When there's over 2,000 named characters and 14,000 named places, we can't keep it all straight.
There's probably fewer named places than there are named people.
You're not going to let me get away with just making that up?
No, I think you should probably have switched those numbers if you were going to do it. Like 2,000 and 1,400. That I would have thought that.
All right, done with these notes. We also learned from Swan that she had shared that news of the Dragon Reborn holding Kalendor with the Hall of the Tower right after it happened. And they voted unanimously that this man must be the Dragon Reborn. And so we must guide him. We must find a way for the White Tower to guide his actions in the days ahead. And the Hall also voted to keep whatever plans they may do to help him secret to the Hall. Not let this become common knowledge at all.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Right. Swan had also managed to keep them from sending a delegation to Rand. She's like, no, we don't have to do that right now. We already have an Aes Sedai placed closely near him, who he is listening to, who's managed to, kind of get into his inner circle.
Yeah, but everybody else went, it's Moraine.
They don't all know that. No, they don't know who. She didn't say.
No.
Just an Aes Sedai.
But it's very much an attempt at a power move on an Amelin's point where it's like, no, I've already got someone there. It's like,
exactly. Yes. And all of that worked brilliantly. She was very pleased with how it worked. But that was weeks ago. And then
yeah,
nothing else to report. Nothing has happened. The Hall of the Tower is becoming impatient. You just want us to sit on our hands?
it's not
Something
her
needs to
fault.
happen.
It's not her fault Rand teleported thousands of miles into the waste.
And she knows nothing about that. She has no clue. Which is where the action that follows springs from. That impatience, that frustration. The door crashes open. A dozen Aes Sedai waltz in, led by Elaida Sedai.
Well, shit.
It's been a few episodes since we got
It's
one of those.
appropriate. If I'm
This
ever going to
is
drop
that
one in
kind of
this
moment.
book.
There it is. Also named in the group of Aes Sedai, we've got Elviarin of the White, Shamarin of the Yellow, Jolene Matza, a green.
Jolene.
Jolene. Come on, you got to keep with me there.
I'll let you finish it out.
And Danelle, who we heard about earlier, that Brown, who hasn't been tracking the Masons right.
Or maybe she has.
Ooh. In fact, Swan notes every Aja is represented here except the blue, her former Aja.
Mm-hmm.
Swan jumps up, slams her little box closed, reacts with typical Amerlin bluster. What are you doing here? What's going on? And the reaction she gets is not what she expects. What happens is Elaida calmly reaching out and taking her 7-striped Amerlin stole off her shoulders
The
with
audacity.
a calm statement. You will not need this any longer. You were never fit for this, Swan. Swan's like, what? And then realizes she's been blocked from the source.
That's not good.
No, she's shielded. What's going on, Zach?
She's being impeached.
Yes. Elviarin steps over and starts going through Swan's papers right there in front of her. And then she opens Swan's box and poof, fireball, like you said. So hot, her hands have blisters on them now.
Ouch.
Elaida looks at her with a you will and says to Swan, you will tell us everything that was on those notes. Every secret.
Nah, I don't feel like it.
Exactly. Swan shouts at all of them. You, what are you doing? I will have your hides. When I share this before the Hall of the Tower, you'll be lucky if you're all not stilled.
Speaking
at which
of the Hall
point,
of the Tower,
Elaida shares they already met. She's been deposed, demoted, impeached,
ways that
all those things.
It's very improper protocol, but it didn't matter because they got at least a majority. Even if it was only 51%, it's all they needed.
Swan's mind instantly turns to, what do they know? Which, reminds us, previously, all the way back in the
Great Hunt.
Thank you, the Great Hunt, she and Moraine talked very clearly that if people knew everything they had done and they'd be removed and stilled.
Absolutely. If they had the actual evidence to back up what has been going on, they'd have the grounds to remove, still, execute any of these things.
Right?
Is it necessarily because they are evil people who have done horrible things? No, but they also have not been doing things above board. So,
yep. But all of that was to get to the point where the Dragon Reborn would be revealed.
And I do want to stress, if they had proof, all that would be reasonable.
Sure. Now, in her mind, she's instantly putting connections together of what an idiot she's been. Because the Dragon Reborn has been announced, and she let her guard down. She stopped paying attention to everything around her as carefully as she had before, because they accomplished the mission. Now she's got a mess to deal with. So Swan goes on the verbal attack. She denounces that secret hall meeting. Surely you had the bare minimum to act within the law of the tower, if you even had that. And when the full hall meets, your treachery is going to come to light. There's still a chance for you. if you back down now, we can still fix this, and maybe you won't be put out of the tower. At that point, Elida just whack slaps her a good one.
It'd be one thing to talk a big game from a position of power. It's another to talk that from being blocked and having no allies in the room.
Yeah. Says to her, did you really think we would allow you to destroy the White Tower? Now, wait a second. There's something here we don't know, because that statement doesn't make a lot of sense to Swan.
Well, it's arguable as to whether it makes sense, period. But this is where we start getting into some of the very complicated nature of Robert Jordan's books that are fantastic and have some wonderful plot lines that take many books to resolve. But it can sometimes be very frustrating trying to figure out exactly what does this person actually think is going on here, because it doesn't always match with the other person in the room.
Right. Okay. So she realizes something is going on here, but I'm sure with enough time, I'll figure out a way out of it. I mean, I've been in worse situations before. But as they then physically drag her out of her study, hope just bottoms out. Because she sees her keeper, Liana, also trapped with the air, gagged with air. She's clearly in the same boat as Swan.
It's interesting.
She's being deposed too.
They had intentionally kept Liana out of things, being like, we wouldn't want to drag her down too if this all got out.
Right.
Well, too late for that.
Too late.
They launched a full-on coup.
And even worse, she sees her warder, Ulrich, dead on the floor, a knife in his back. Not cool.
I have to wonder.
She'd be feeling horrible about this right now, except that she's shielded.
Yeah.
So she has no access to the power, and it's that warder bond is a power thing. So
does a shield like cut that off?
I would say yes.
This definitely seems to imply that, because if otherwise, she would have known that happened.
Well, she also realizes they shielded her before she realized she'd been shielded.
Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise she would have felt when he was killed. And she had nothing. She had no clue.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we jump POV to Min. Around this same time, or just a little after this, having a stroll out on the grounds. Still acting her role as the brainless Almendrita. And while out there, she hears a rattle of swords, and she sees some smoke rising from the area of the barracks where the students, the warders in training, are located. So she heads over there.
Started doing the fire dancing again. Got it.
Mm-hmm. She heads over there to see what's going on. And she comes upon Gawain and his young group of warders in training. From Gawain, she learns what's happened, that the Amerlin has been deposed, and that Hamar is trying to break Swan Sanjay free. Remind us of who Hamar is?
Hamar, if I remember correctly, is one of, if not the, Blade Master trainer of warders here. He's the guy who was teaching Gawain and Galad how to do things. And am I correct in remembering he's the one who was kind of seeing and making sure that Matt got his wager met?
Yes, with Matt and the quarterstaff scene. That was Hamar. Absolutely. So Gawain tells Min, you need to leave now. This is bad. It's dangerous. Just get out of here. But he and his group, calling themselves the Younglings, they're off to the tower.
Skywalker's coming to kill them all. Got it.
Min sits there in shock as they run off. She's like, now she realizes this clattering of swords and stuff. No, it's coming from all over the place. She had no context. She had no idea. There's fighting happening all over the tower, all over the grounds. And the other thing she realizes now is she doesn't know which side Gawain is on. He said Hamar was leading some warders to break out Swan Sanjay, and they were heading to the tower now to help,
to stop.
She doesn't know. Even though Gawain told her to leave for her own safety, she decides instead to hide. Just hide in the woods here on the grounds. Wait till the fighting dies down, and then she'll try to figure out what to do next.
Now, if this was a Song of Ice and Fire, she would go hide in an alley and get her throat slit in the next page. However, it's not those books.
This is not grimdark. Now we're going to jump back to Swan's point of view. Many hours have transpired. This is actually the next day. She's sitting naked in a cell in pitch blackness. She's been questioned quite thoroughly, and it describes as she is just covered in welts and bruises. And she's
so when we say questioned, we mean in the White Cloak sense.
Yeah, she's been pretty much tortured. She hears Lyanna is there too, and she knows Lyanna's been tortured as well. From the conversation that they have then, we learn a couple of things. One, Swan managed, she sung like a canary when she'd been tortured enough, but she did manage to hold back just a few little things. We don't hear what, but a little nugget here, a little nuance there. She didn't tell everything.
Everything.
So she's not broken. She's been hurt, but she's not broken yet.
She just gave up enough of the things here and there to get them to stop.
But she also hears the end result of the torture. She and Lyanna have already been stilled. Remind us what that means, Zach, to be stilled.
Well, bye-bye one power. Forever.
Yeah. The connection is severed. At this point, someone puts a key into the lock of the cell. Swan urges Lyanna, get up, show some pride. We will not let them see us broken and beaten. We might be naked, we might be stilled, but we still have some self-respect. And the POV switches to the other side of the door. The person trying to open it is Min.
And
Laris, the mistress of the kitchens.
Woohoo.
This is a jailbreak. This is what's happening now. So when things had settled down, Min had gone back into the tower. She'd found out what had happened. Then she discovered where they were keeping Swan and Lyanna.
Mm-hmm.
She's got some bundles of clothes. She's going to get them into regular attire and try to sneak them out. Now, Laris has helped because as Min was trying to figure this out, Laris was out looking for Elmendreda because she was worried about her. We heard chapters ago that Laris had kind of taken a liking for Elmendreda.
Yeah.
And she reminds her of her back when she was young, which still has Min going, really?
And so brings out a side of Laris that nobody else ever sees.
So they get down to try to get to this jail cell, and there's one guard. They're way down deep in the tower. One guard guarding it. And Elmendreda beats her eyes and kind of offers, the promise of kisses. If you just let me slip by and go talk to them, because I've got a grudge against the Amerlin and I want to give her what's for. And kind of tantalizingly talking, kind of positions herself so the guard is looking at her. Laris comes up behind him with a rolling pin and clocks him one, and he's out cold.
Now, I can't let it go past. I'm your son. I have to be a little petulant here. I want to know what beating one's eyes means.
Batting. Did I say beating?
Absolutely. And I was so here for it.
Batting one's eyes. I have no idea what beating one's eyes would be. I think that would be bad. I'm pretty sure beating one's eyes would be bad.
Yeah. Let's avoid that.
We'll go back to batting one's eyes. Okay.
It doesn't sound much better, but
I wasn't misreading a typo. That's not in my notes
that's
at
just
all.
You.
I was just
that's
talking
why I was
from
like,
description.
I can't let that go.
Memory. Now, we really find out here now that Laris is helping Min purely because she wants Elmendreda to be able to get out of this danger. And Elmendreda is focused on helping Swan and Lyanna.
Adamant. She won't leave without those two.
Laris has just heard that those stilled women now are going to be put to work in the kitchens as a living example of what happens to you if you defy the White Tower. She's like, I could care less. That's politics. That's not my thing. They can work in the kitchens. But I want to take care of Elmandreda. So you two get dressed and you're going with her and you better not get her in trouble.
What Elmandreda wants, Elmandreda gets.
And Laris leaves them. The three of them are left to try to escape now. So Min leads them out of the cells, and now we've got to get through the tower. But they're in disguise, okay? None of them are dressed like they were before. They're just in random clothing. And as they walk, they see signs of what took place here in the tower over the past day. So some conversation takes place. We learn there was fighting throughout the tower. Warders, guardsmen, those fake masons that Danelle had snuck in, they took up arms. As soon as news broke that Swan was being deposed, fighting began. There was a battle for control of the tower, and people died.
Turns out revolt is very hard to do peaceably, especially when you're not really trying to, and you're just
gonna be
taking
a
it regardless.
revolution. Yeah. Many of the Aes Sedai, we learn, have fled the tower. Like, there's no blues left at all. Very few green as well.
Maybe some died. I don't know. It's not really specified.
Not shockingly, most of the reds are here. The other Ajas, they're fairly split. Ones that support Elida in the tower are still here. The ones who feel she was out of line, they're gone or dead. Because that's the case. Anyone who opposed Elida is either gone or dead. The only ones remaining are in her corner. At least
they're at the very least towing the company line for the moment.
Charges have been posted that Swan and Lyanna, they arranged Matsrim Taim's escape. Now, that's a bald-faced lie.
Oh, yeah.
But that's been posted.
To the best of our knowledge.
True. But everything we saw from Swan and her notes and stuff would indicate she had nothing to do with that. We also learned Logain got away during the fighting. You know, he'd been kept on the grounds here. No one knows where he is now. That's being blamed on Swan and Lyanna.
It's very interesting. I wonder if that'll, come back to relevance at any point.
And they're being named almost as Dark Friends. Not quite. They're not going quite that far.
If they went that far, that would be admitting the fact that the Black Aja exists.
Exactly.
They wouldn't dare do that.
Right. As they finally approach the door out of the tower, Min sees Elida herself walking along a corridor in their direction. She's like, oh, crap. And she drops to her knees, as do the others, kind of like in obeisance to the Amerlin. We're just petitioners here, and there she is.
Absolutely.
And because they act the way it would be expected, Elida doesn't bat an eye. Bat, not beat, doesn't bat an eye.
Yeah.
She just sweeps on by with her entourage, taking no notice of the little people. Min looks up enough to make note of that entourage, and so we see Alviarin wearing the stole of the Keeper of the Chronicles now.
Well, that explains how they got the whites.
And a dozen more Aes Sedai, mostly reds, and 6 warders who are kind of surrounding them, keeping an eye out in all directions.
I'm going to assume the warders belong to the other. They're like
reds
Alviarin
don't tend
or
to have warders.
Yeah, there's 12 reds, but probably none of them have a warder.
Once they've moved on, the 3 get going again, and they get out of the tower. Swan muttering to herself that, the only way a stilled woman lives very long is if they find something to live for. Something they want as badly as they had wanted to channel, and I've got mine. I want revenge on that woman. I want Elida to suffer. And Lyanna tosses in, and Alviarin.
I like that. I like that little touch of going, and she took my job, so her too.
She took my stole. Yeah, exactly. I want her too. The women make their way into the woods on the tower grounds to a little clearing where Laris had arranged 3 horses with supplies to be waiting for them.
Yes, they go into the woods and out of the woods and over to the
Now,
horses.
here a mistake is made.
Uh-oh.
One of the horses is shorter than the other 2, and it's one we know. It's Bella.
Bella!
Who's Bella, Zach?
Bella's from the 2 Rivers. Bella's from Rand's farm. Bella is Rand and Tam's family cart horse.
But whose horse has it really kind of been?
Egwene.
Because it's on the grounds, it's Egwene's horse. She rode it out of the 2 Rivers. Yes. Unfortunately, the saddling up of Bella tipped off Gawain. Something's up, and he's waiting, watching for who's going to show up. So when they show up, he steps out of the woods. Aha! Kind of thing. And he looks gross. He's still got blood in his hair.
Okay,
he shows the sign of all the battling that's gone on over the last 24 hours. Not good. And when he realizes who's with Min, because he doesn't recognize them at first, and then he looks closer, he's like, it is you. He realizes it's Swan Sanche. There's a standoff.
Now, I think it's important to mention here, because we haven't yet. We mentioned that Swan and Lyanna were stilled. Why doesn't Gawain recognize them immediately? We haven't mentioned this really yet.
Nope. I have that coming up in my notes, but feel free to mention it now. Go ahead. Toss it in.
They look super dang different.
Why?
Stilling, apparently, has taken away the agelessness. But it doesn't just shove you into, oh, you're 40? You look 40 now. It's like, no, you had the agelessness. And it seems to have pulled those years back a bit. It changed things into, more or less, wizened, younger versions of themselves. It's like, they don't look like they did when they were younger.
Right.
But they don't look old.
As Swan looks at Lyanna, she said, judging by how you look, I'm guessing I'm about the same. I'd say we both have maybe 15 years shaved off of what our actual age would be. So since Swan, we know, would be about 40 at this point, she looks like she's 25.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. And you mentioned the point, not like she really would have looked like when she was 25. She just looks about that age, but she still looks different than she naturally would have looked.
Looks like someone who aged and wizened to 40 and then was de-aged but not moved backwards. Which is a weird way of thinking to go, wouldn't that be the same?
Yeah.
But no.
Now, realizing who this is, Gawain demands an answer from Swan. Where is my sister? Where's Egwene? And none of this Aes Sedai crap anymore. I want the truth. Now, he's been after this for weeks, months, this information.
A long time.
Swan shares. Okay, the last I knew, they were safe in Ilion, training with an Aes Sedai named Mara Tamanes. As far as I know, they're still there. They should be fine. And Gawain, he's relieved to hear, okay, so not in Tyr. He's like, no, not in Tyr.
He's relieved to hear a bald-faced lie.
Why would he be concerned they might have been in Tyr? Let's answer that first.
Because that's where the rumors of, Aiel and, more importantly, the Dragon Reborn were.
But let's talk on that other point you said. It's a bald-faced lie. So what does that tell us about Swan?
Apparently, she no longer is held by the 3 Oaths.
Yeah. She can lie. I said I can't lie. So she's not an Aes Sedai.
She got stilled.
Gawain notes how people are saying Swan is a dark friend. Black Aja. Swan defiantly says, if you believe that, take my head off now. Min, she jumps up. She's kind of like, crap.
Please don't do that. He might actually do it.
She says, you know me. I would never support a dark friend. She's not a dark friend. You know Egwene and Elaine trust her. They believe in her. They wouldn't support a dark friend.
Honestly, in this case, it's probably a good thing they got Gawain instead of Galad, because if Swan had said that to Galad, he probably would have swung.
In the end, Gawain does choose not to kill them, but not because of any of these arguments and believing she is or isn't a dark friend or anything like that. Very pragmatically, he says to her, I might need information that's in your head someday. And if your head is no longer attached, I won't be able to access it. And for that reason, I'm going to let you go as well. Because if you're kept here, Elida could change her mind at any time and execute you. And again, I won't be able to get information I might need.
I think that's a very practical, pragmatic, tactical way of thinking of things. I also don't think that's why he actually did this.
Well,
I mean,
he's an honor-bound individual. He has to find a way to sell it to himself.
And that's the thing. He's selling this lie to himself. He's doing it because he's not sure what's right. He's completely torn between what the right decision would be. And so he's selling himself on this lie of, well, if I do this, it still gives me the options. It's just like a little bit extended and further and harder to find those options, but they're still there rather than ending on a choice.
This is going to come up very strong in just a moment in this conversation. Min urges Gawain, come with us. Again, Egwene, they support Swan. Can't you? He's like, no, that's more than I can do. Don't ask me of things I cannot do. In fact, Min, there's an arrest order for you. I'm actively defying an order I know to have you arrested. You guys just need to go.
His inner conflict is really putting him in a point of inaction.
So they get on their horses. Swan muttering about these revelations that she's realized, hey, we're younger. Hey, I can lie. Maybe it's not all bad. Okay. Gawain leads them out of this clearing, and just a little ways off, there's like 20 more of his guys all hanging out. They join up. So these 20 other younglings follow them in this pack, and he's leading them all out to one of the gates to exit the tower grounds. And this gate's guarded.
Mm-hmm.
And these guards, this is kind of a mishmash, of people here that, some actual tower guards, some of these masons and all.
Let's be real. It's the people who are left.
Yeah. Now, as they're walking up to them, Min fills in the Liana and Swan about these younglings. These were the students, but they're like a thing now. Okay, they're calling themselves the younglings. They were part of the fight. She doesn't mention that actually before they were stilled, some of the warders tried to break them out, and it was Gawain leading the younglings that stopped them.
So apparently when Gawain left from Min in that moment that we saw earlier, that was, I'm going to go stop Hamar.
Right. So leaves that out. Reaching the gate, confronting these guards, they're like, we have orders from the Armerlin, no one leaves. And Gawain's like, hey, I'm Gawain Trakand of Andor. I say they leave. If you want to try to stop it, I'm just going to kill you. And the muttering starts, hey, that's the one who killed Hamar and Kulin.
Yeah, it's that moment where it's like, look, we don't care that you're first Prince of the Sword of Andor. No. We care about the fact that you just killed some of the biggest badasses in this place.
Right? So that just shuts that down. It's happening. I'm letting them go. Gawain gets some paper and starts writing out an order that will give them safe passage out of the city. As he's doing it, Swan is looking at him going, you killed Hamar and Kulin? Okay, these were some of her staunchest warders right here, head of the guards, and how could you kill them? And he looks at her and he says, yeah, I killed them. They were my friends. I trusted them. I learned from them, but they sided with Swan Sanche and tried to free her. So they died.
Don't push it, Swan. This is very complex in just his own brain. Yep. Don't make it worse by adding yours.
And then he's like, so get out of here now. Gives him this pass before I change my mind. Go. And they go. As they head through the city, Swan shares her plan to just get out of Tar Valon, but not to go too far. She's hoping to gather up any of these Aes Sedai who fled the anti-Elida contingent, and then to rally them together to bring Elida down. And Lyanna challenges her. She's like, so you mean you want to try to rally forces so you can keep things going the way they were and support the dragon? That's what this is all about still? She's like, yeah, of course. And pulling Elida down is a necessary part of it because we cannot let that woman get her hands on Rand al'Thor. This would be a disaster.
You know, I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I'm also not going to say necessarily that you getting your hands on him would have been successful.
The conversation takes a shift when Swan demands to know exactly what the pass Gawain just provided them says. Does it state 3 women are being allowed to leave? And nope. It just says the bearers of this certificate are authorized to depart. And she's like, good, follow me. She had seen a guy up ahead of them kind of darting furtively away, and she leads her horse up to him, and when he realizes they're following, he starts running, and she's on a horse, so she's faster, and she cuts him off, and they stop him, and ta-da! It's Logain. He says, I can't hurt anybody. I don't mean any harm. I'm just trying to get out of Tar Valon so I can go die in peace.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't. Every bridge is guarded. There's no way out of the city. And she says, well, I can get you out of the city. In fact, I am the only one who can give you a chance to strike back at the Red Aja, the ones who captured you.
Not just a way to die, I can give you something to live for.
And he says, what do I have to do? She's like, just follow me. Remember, I'm your only chance for revenge. He's like, all right, I am your man.
Good enough for me.
And at that, there's a vision.
It's a vision that Min has seen before. And she's seeing it again. It's back. But it's there. It's more. It's stronger almost. Which makes no sense because it didn't make sense before. And now, when things are even worse, how does it make sense now that Logain is surrounded with glory?
Yes. He's going to become full of glory again.
Think of the glory.
And then that triggers her to recall the images she had just seen moments before around Gawain's head when they departed from him. She saw 2 images. Gawain kneeling at Egwene's feet, head bowed before her, and then Gawain breaking Egwene's neck. First one viewing, then the other. And she has this feeling like, and they're not both true, it's like one or the other. And that both possibilities were triggered by what they've just done here now.
It's a weird thing because we know Min can't prevent her visions. When she sees something and knows it to be true, it's true. And we also know that her visions are like tied to seeing threads of the pattern in some way, seeing how things will unfold. And it almost puts Gawain at this knot in the pattern that as it gets untangled, where that thread is going is a little undetermined. It's going here or it's going there. But which one, they're equally as likely at this moment.
Yeah, she's never seen one like this. It's very deeply disturbing to her. And that's it. That's the end of the chapter. The end of the regular content of the episode.
We made it!
We did. So if you're a first-time reader, you need to get out now because we're going to spoil something now for the final segment here. But we want to thank you for being with us, for enjoying these couple of great chapters from The Shadow Rising, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
All right. Well, for us sticking around,
the spoiler room.
I'm going to let it run again because it had a glitch.
We're going twice?
Except it didn't repeat.
The spoiler room. We're going 3, 4, 5 times? I don't know what we're doing here.
All right, let's spoil something. We got to roll.
I found a die. It's in It's in my dice jail right now because most of my dice are. Yes, this is what I use as dice jail.
Okay.
It makes a great sound when I drop the dice in.
Now, Emmeline is still with us.
Well, she's read far enough for the first time.
She hasn't finished. So we need to make sure we don't spoil something from the last book. She's only in the second to last.
I think I could do that.
All right. I rolled a 12 today.
I rolled a 19.
Wow. You get to go first.
I'm not going to spoil too crazy or anything. I just want to talk about Gawain and his younglings a little bit further. Okay. Because I made a joke about Anakin killing the younglings and all that. Yeah. And that doesn't happen, but also in a certain sense, I got two people that are great candidates for Anakin here. Rand or Gareth Bryn, for two totally different reasons.
Okay.
Rand, and I'm actually going to throw this into the Master of Time Black Aja-ness as to why they can be this Anakin Skywalker-ness. If we're talking Order 66, kill younglings, breaking out of the box did a lot of that. It didn't really kill Gawain or too much of a mess, but it's an initial start. But arguably what kind of breaks the younglings and changes the whole dynamic is much later during Tower Siege time. And between politics and Gareth Bryn breaking in to kind of have an emotional awakening in Gawain. It's less so a beating you, killing you, beating you to your senses, any of these things, and more having an actual conversation, which is weird amongst enemy opposing leaders, that leads the younglings to be less steadfast in their current Elida Tower support. So in a non-killing way, I would say later on, Gareth Bryn, you're my Anakin Skywalker. You kill the younglings.
Okay. It's brutal, but all right.
Now, what you got for an actual real spoilery spoil?
Well, I'm jumping back to Moghedien. I mean, come on. So we had a Forsaken show up and do her whammy on our girls, and we'd already met Moghedien earlier in the book where she was. So a reader could have put that connection together. But one of the things that's awesome here, and it's a very short foreshadowing, is when she talks about Nynaeve and how powerful Nynaeve is. And we're going to see later in the series, just how powerful Nynaeve is. But we're going to see in just a little bit of the series, she's powerful enough to take on Moghedien.
Yes. Now,
and that is an awesome scene coming right up.
Whether was in this point of the story true, or later in the story became untrue, was true, whatever, you threw out that comment of like rivaling Ravine kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Either the comment was not intended to be taken for equal in power, or things weren't decided yet, or Moghedien just wasn't quite estimating right. Because we do have books that tell us actual like power scaling of things. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Ravine's stronger.
Did you look it up?
I'm pretty sure Ravine is like one of our top 3.
I'd have to look it up. We'll have to double check. But Nynaeve's strong?
Nynaeve's strong, but she's like a couple tiers down technically.
Okay. It does make me curious. All right, that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about today. So that is where we'll wrap this up. Let me play our outro now for us. There it is. As always, it's been a lot of fun. Those of you who are watching it on YouTube, this is one of our longer ones, but not too long. We kept it within the 2 hours. We tried to keep closer to an hour and a half, but
keep watching. Like, subscribe, give us stars, give us comments.
Follow us on Twitter.
Twitter's the best place. We've also got that Instagram and that Facebook. But if you want to support us even further, be like the wonderful people that you heard about earlier in this episode, or Evelyn, Jordo, and all of our wonderful patrons, everybody that we keep talking with. Come join us on Discord and come join us live. We'd love to see you. But until then,
we'll talk to you next time.